Scrappy peeps, Suzanna here today to share this video with you of this layout that I created for Cocoa Daisy using the February kits. Stay tuned because I do have a video coming up because I have reached 1,500 subscribers and I have a giveaway to do. It is well overdue actually. So I decided to incorporate some purple into this kit. I love the colors, but I wanted to go with the peacock theme, and to me peacock feathers and peacocks in general, the colors are green, that aqua blue, and purple. So I used these color bursts from Ken and I squirted them over a mask from Hero Arts. These do not come with the kit. This is my mixed media, and activated the color burst with water, and then I flipped the mask onto some white cardstock, so I had a positive and a negative. I decided to use that colored paper as the background of my layout, but I did flip over to check out what the backside looked like, which is what I'm doing here, and I like that, but I really like the burst of color poking out from all the rest of the color, which sort of ties everything together. So I am going to use the cardstock that comes with the kit, that blue there, as well as the white, and I just want a thin border of that white in order to pop the color and provide some contrast to the blue, green, and hints of purple that I'm going to use as the main focus of my layout there. I intentionally am going to sort of offset this a little bit so that it adds to the whimsical look of the layout. And I will adhere that white down to the blue and then trim out the innards of the white, just so that it's an awful lot of cardstock that gets wasted otherwise. And you can see that I use a lot of white for mixed media, backing photos, and that kind of thing, so that'll always come in handy. And then I will trim out 1.5 inches of an L here for the border of that layout, and then also save the innards there for another project. So that is all adhered down. Now I just have to true the paper and make it 12 by 12 and cut off the extra excess there to create the background of my layout. Just a little bit about these pictures. So these pictures are of my daughter and my mom. One of the traditions at the swim club that my kids swim at is that they take donuts to celebrate their birthday. We always buy about 5 to 6 dozen donuts, which is a little excessive, and they were playing around with the donuts and having a snack before heading off to the pool and taking the remainder of the donuts there. So with that mixed media background that I created there, I wanted a little bit of a softer edge to it, and so I just used my ruler to rip the cardstock and create a soft edge. And I do end up covering a lot of it, but it still gives that hint of purple that is what I wanted to incorporate into the layout there. I do have 2 peacock feathers that I cut out with my Silhouette. It's a digital cut file that was available from the Silhouette store. And then most of what I have here is actually from the Pocket Kit. So there's that card that'll go to the left-hand side up there, and then another card with the peacock feather, that one there, that will go to the right-hand side of my mom there. So this layout was actually created for the stamping blog post. So that went up last Friday. So be sure to check out the Cocoa Daisy blog for details on that and other people's examples of how they use the stamps. I got the stamps from the classified kit. So there was a couple of mandalas as well as some fun little doodles that I used and some arrows that you'll see me use later on in the layout. Now, those of you that follow me know that I like to pull color collections or color bits from the kits and work with those. So the main colors that I worked with here are, as you can see, the blue and the green. So I pulled all the elements from that and tried figuring out how they were going to work in my layout. And not everything works, and I'm not one to put a lot of bits and pieces on my layouts, but I do like to try and see how I can incorporate things in a meaningful way. I liked the way that those feathers behind the peacock head there kind of gave you the illusion of that great grandeur of the peacock tail. However, I will end up moving those die cut pieces because they do cover up the journal card that I have there, and I really wanted to showcase that pocket card as well as the feathers. So those will actually move to the top right above near the mixed media there. That was too dark. Now you'll see that my daughter has a lot of shadow on her fleece, and she has darker hair, so that one picture stands out in particular. So I needed to incorporate some darker elements into my layout in order to soften how much she stands out and provide a little bit more balance between the dark elements and the light elements, which is why with these two arrows I'm going to stamp in black in order to even out that contrast there. And I'm going to use the two arrows to alternate and create more of an edge to the edge of the layout there. You can see, so I'll alternate one arrow with the other the whole way across the top and then the whole way across the bottom of the layout as well. And I just like the way that that black softens the contrast in the layout and also softens those hard edges of the blue there. The arrows are going to be too long, so I need to put a piece of scrap paper underneath, and that just gives me a way of stamping without needing to mask that off. So that creates a much more delineated edge of the border there. So I've committed to all these layers, and now it's time to adhere everything down. Just using my ruler to make sure that that's straight. So I do cover up a lot of this mixed media, but that's okay because I have another one, and I really love the effect that that created and the way it worked so well with all of the other pieces there. And it allowed me to add a little bit of purple to the layout to work with the peacock colors that I have envisioned in my head. And a little bit more purple, so I'm going to use that purple thread and create a thread ball to just put behind that piece of flare there. You'll see that next to the flare I do have a die cut element, which I'm going to end up removing. It looks like a little bit of an eyesore there, and I also wanted that space to journal. In order to put thread down, I typically put adhesive on whatever it is that I'm going to put the thread behind, and so in this case I'm using a glue dot. Put the thread on that, kind of tease that up to make it look messy but neat, a neat messy, and then put another glue dot on top of that in order to adhere it to the page. Now these peacock feathers have little heart-shaped eyes. Every peacock feather has an eye near the top of it, and I just used there's a sort of a doodled heart to emphasize that eye. And just as a peacock feather has, I think it's a little bit of black, it might be brown at the eye of the peacock feather, I did stamp that doodled heart there in order to be true to how a peacock feather looks. Now this paper got a little bit lost on the page, so by drawing a black border around the edge of the page, it gave it a little bit more definition and also added that contrast that I was talking about in order to make the picture of my daughter not stand out quite so much there. So that pocket card with you can see that I'm about to do this now. I've got my X-Acto blade, and I am going to just pop this peacock feather a little bit out of the picture so that I can tuck it in there. My mom's arm is a little white, and by putting the peacock feather, I allow you to see more of the peacock feather from the card, and also two, it serves a second purpose of covering some of that picture that is not necessary in the storytelling process there. And then we're going to put these peacock feathers. Now the peacock feathers have a lot of dimension to them and a lot of movement, and in order to preserve that movement, I just put the adhesive in the center of the feather, sort of, I guess it's what's called the stem of the feather. I'm sure it has another technical term, but that's where the adhesive is, so that lots of the feathery bits are still moving and organic and add that organic feel to the layout. So I used that peacock head, and this is where I move those feathers that I originally had behind the peacock as another layer sticking out between. I liked how the peacock head on the circle goes with the flare that I used with the mandala on it, and then I will actually pull a third circle so that I do have a trio of embellishments and a trio of circles that sort of go well with the circles that the circle donut eyes that my mom and Mia are holding there. So I am distracted by these stickers, and they have some cute phrases on them and labels, but I already have a lot of layers, so I really wanted something that was very subtle. And I just went with 2 subtle phrases so you can read them and they sort of become subtitles to the layout, but they don't stand out. So these are thickers that are actually from a previous Cocoa Daisy kit, and I'm going to use donuts. And then that little green sticker underneath it says "On My Mind," and that will be the title for my layout. So I have a very heavy black, which softens the darkness of that photo with my daughter in it. And then that is sitting above "On My Mind," which completes the layout. There's some asterisks that were in the kit, and I'm going to use those for additional black. I will end up putting it on you can see right there, on those feathers, but I don't like it, and I will actually move that up to below that circle and complete the title "Donuts on My Mind" with that extra bit of black there. Now, one of the things I end up doing off camera is I am going to stamp the large mandala that comes in the kit on the bottom of the page. It just needed that extra bit of black to wrap up the page, and then I'll just put a little strip of paper because I think I've stamped too much mandala, and by putting that little strip of paper, it just sort of softens that, and you'll see that better in the close-ups. This kit also comes with some really cool sequins that I'm laying down here. They're iridescent, and they do have a hint of purple to them, so I will put those for a little bit more of a whimsical layout. I wanted to let you know before I close out this video that this is my last video for Cocoa Daisy. I have had a great 3 years with Cocoa Daisy, and I thank those of you who have followed me on my journey, but I am moving on, so this is the last of Cocoa Daisy for me. I thank you for joining me today. I hope you're doing well. Enjoy the close-ups and take care.